everyone. Welcome to another deep dive. A friend of mine is actually about to help someone settle into a new life in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And it got me thinking about that experience, what that's really like for people.
Yeah.
Not just the, visa applications and all the paperwork and stuff.
Right, the human side of it.
Exactly, the human side of it.
Yeah.
So I found this blog post about someone welcoming nursing trainees from India to Germany for their Ausbildung.
Okay.
And Ausbildung is basically a German vocational training program.
I see.
So it's kind of like an apprenticeship, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But it's such a personal story, and you can really feel the mix of hopes and anxieties these trainees are carrying with them.
Yeah, starting a new life in a foreign country. I mean, that takes incredible courage.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love to hear more about their journey.
So the blog starts with this really vivid scene.
Okay.
It's a pre-dawn trip to Zurich airport to pick up the trainees.
Wow.
It's 5 a.m., still dark out.
Oh, wow.
And they're waiting there with a sign, and it lists all 5 names.
Wow, so they've got a group.
Yeah, Katsia, Archanaveen, Anupriya, and Mithuna.
Okay.
They even needed an anhanger for all the luggage.
An anhanger. What is that?
It's like a little trailer,
Okay, got it.
to hook up to the car.
Wow. So needing a trailer for luggage, I mean, it kind of tells you something about just how big of a move this is for them.
Yeah.
They're bringing their whole lives with them.
Yeah, bring in their whole life.
What do you think is going through their minds at that point?
I imagine it's just a whirlwind of emotions,
Right.
Excitement, nerves, maybe even a bit of disbelief that this is actually happening.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
And then they see each other for the first time, the
Oh.
trainees and the people who are welcoming them.
Yeah.
And the blog describes this outpouring of joy, everyone's smiling despite the long flight.
That's so lovely. It's interesting how powerful that first moment of connection can be.
Oh, yeah.
It really sets the tone for the whole experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they all pile into the car, anhanger in tow,
Go in.
and start the drive back to Freiburg.
Great.
And it's during this drive that they start talking about life in Germany.
Okay.
Specifically, this thing called the cultural shock curve.
Ah, yes, the inevitable cultural shock curve.
Right.
It's almost like a rite of passage
Yeah,
when you immerse yourself in a new culture.
totally. The author actually breaks it down into 4 stages.
Okay.
The first is the honeymoon period.
Okay.
Everything is exciting new, you're just soaking it all in.
Right.
But then stage 2 hits, and that's cultural shock.
Oh.
And that's where things can get really tough.
It's interesting how the honeymoon phase can be both exhilarating and deceptive.
Right.
You're hyper aware of everything being new, but you're not yet really grappling with the deeper cultural differences.
Yeah.
How do you think that kind of delayed realization impacts the later stages of cultural adjustment?
I imagine it can make that crash landing into culture shock even harder.
Right.
You've built up these expectations, and then reality sets in. Language barriers, different social customs, maybe even some homesickness.
Yeah.
The blog author emphasizes that this is the make or break point for a lot of people.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's where resilience and a willingness to adapt become so crucial.
Yeah.
It's not about erasing your own culture.
Right.
It's about finding ways to navigate the new one while still honoring who you are.
Exactly. And that leads us to stage 3,
Okay.
adjustment.
Right.
The blog describes it as this gradual process of things starting to make more sense.
All right.
You start to figure out the public transportation system. You can order food in a restaurant. You start to feel a bit more at home.
It's like the fog is starting to clear and you can see the path forward more clearly.
Yeah.
You're not just reacting anymore.
Yeah.
You're actively engaging with the new culture.
Right. And then finally, stage 4, adaptation.
Okay.
This is where the new culture truly starts to feel like home. You've built relationships. You understand the unspoken rules.
Right.
You're thriving. The blog author really emphasizes that Germany offers so many opportunities, but you have to push through those initial really challenging phases to reach that point.
It really highlights the fact that integration is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And it requires effort, patience, and an open mind
Yes.
from both the individual and the host society.
Absolutely. So after the drive, they finally arrive in Freiburg, and it's straight to the university.
Okay, so this is where the trainees really get a taste of the German system, right?
Right. The blog mentions signing documents, understanding program expectations.
I see.
And I imagine it's all a bit overwhelming, all this official jargon, likely in a language they're still getting comfortable with.
Yeah.
It really emphasizes the formal side of starting a new life in Germany.
It makes you wonder what kind of support systems are in place to help them navigate all of these complexities.
Right. And speaking of support systems, their next stop is the personal house.
Personal house. Does that translate to something like a student dormitory?
Exactly. It's student housing.
Okay.
And they meet the Hausmeister.
Ah, the
So you know
Hausmeister.
the person in charge of the building?
Right. Every building in Germany seems to have one, and they take their job very seriously.
Oh, they do.
So what happens during this encounter?
Well, the blog mentions a whole briefing on the rules. Especially, get this, the rules about waste separation.
Waste separation. That seems like a rather specific detail to focus on.
It might seem that way, but it actually speaks volumes about German culture.
Okay.
Germans are incredibly environmentally conscious.
Right.
And waste separation is a huge part of daily life.
Yeah.
It's not just a rule, it's a reflection of their values.
That's a great point. It's these seemingly small, everyday things that can reveal so much about a culture's priorities.
Absolutely. So by now, it's already 3 p.m. They've had this whirlwind of a day, and there's still one more crucial stop. The grocery store.
The grocery store. It's such an ordinary activity.
I know, right?
But in a new environment, it can be daunting and exhilarating at the same time.
Totally. Imagine navigating a German grocery store with limited language skills.
Yeah.
Trying to find familiar foods or figure out what everything is. It's a real test of independence and adaptability.
And it's also a chance to experience the new culture in a very tangible way.
Yeah.
What are the local products like? What are the prices? It's a sensory immersion into everyday life.
The blog author describes watching the trainees navigate the aisles, picking out essentials.
Yeah.
And you can sense their pride.
Oh,
That feeling of, I'm doing this, I'm building my life here.
that's awesome.
It's this turning point in their journey from being passive recipients of information to active participants in their new lives.
It's that moment when the abstract idea of moving to a new country becomes concrete,
Yeah.
grounded in the reality of buying groceries and cooking dinner. It's
Exactly.
the beginning of feeling at home,
It's a small moment, but a powerful one.
and it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
No matter how overwhelming a new environment may feel, we have this incredible capacity to adapt and find our footing. It's truly inspiring.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as the day winds down, it's time for goodbyes. The blog author talks about being struck by the trainees' courage and determination.
Yeah.
But you also sense a bit of melancholy in their words, That feeling of leaving these new friends
Yeah.
on the cusp of this huge life change.
It's a bittersweet moment for sure.
Yeah.
You've shared this intense emotional day with these people,
Yeah.
and now they're stepping out into the unknown.
Right.
But there's also a sense of hopefulness, a belief in their ability to navigate whatever challenges come their way.
It's like they're standing at the starting line of a marathon. They've trained, they've prepared,
Yeah.
but now the real race begins.
And that's what makes this story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about this one day. It's about the long-term process of integration,
Yeah.
of building a new life in a new country.
The blog post actually goes beyond just telling the story of these trainees.
Okay.
It ends with this call to action.
Interesting.
And it's addressed to multiple audiences.
Who is the author reaching out to?
Well, first, they speak directly to the parents of aspiring trainees back in India,
Okay.
offering reassurance that their children will be supported and cared for.
I see.
It acknowledges the anxieties that families face when sending loved ones so far away.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
Imagine the peace of mind that brings to parents knowing there's a network of support in place for their children.
Absolutely. And then the author broadens their call to action,
Okay.
urging German language institutes and international partners to collaborate and create even more pathways for skilled professionals to succeed in Germany.
It's a recognition that successful integration requires a collective effort. It's not just about individual resilience.
Yeah.
It's about creating a system that welcomes and supports newcomers.
It's like saying, hey, we all have a stake in this. Let's work together to make sure these skilled individuals have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive.
And that's a message that resonates far beyond the specific context of this blog post.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to the larger questions of immigration, cultural exchange, and the role we all play in building inclusive societies.
As we've been unpacking this story, it's struck me how much it reflects these larger themes. It's about individual dreams colliding with systemic realities,
Right.
about the challenges and rewards of cultural adaptation.
It reminds us that behind the statistics and policy debates, there are real people with real stories,
Yeah.
all striving for a better future. And it challenges us to move beyond these simplistic narratives and grapple with the complexities of immigration.
Right.
in a nuanced and empathetic way.
It's also made me think about the ripple effects of these kinds of individual journeys. These 5 nursing trainees will not only contribute their skills to the German healthcare system,
Right.
but also enrich the cultural fabric of their communities.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
But it also highlights the responsibility that host countries have
Yeah.
to create environments where immigrants can truly flourish, not just survive.
Absolutely. What has stood out to you the most about this deep dive? What really resonated with you?
I was particularly struck by the emphasis on hope that runs throughout the blog post.
Yeah.
Despite the challenges, there's this unwavering belief in the possibility of new beginnings,
Yeah.
of building a fulfilling life in a new land.
Yeah.
It's inspiring.
I agree. It's there in the trainees' excitement at the airport,
Right.
in their determination to navigate the grocery store, and in the author's closing message of optimism.
It's a reminder that even when faced with uncertainty and unfamiliarity,
Yeah,
the human spirit has this incredible capacity for resilience and hope.
it does.
And that's something worth celebrating.
It really is. Now, before we wrap up, I want to pose a question to you, the listener.
Okay.
Think about your own community, your own circle of influence.
Yeah.
How can you be more welcoming and supportive of people from different cultures who are starting new lives?
It's a powerful question. Because creating a more inclusive world starts with each of us in our everyday interactions and choices.
We can all make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time.
And on that note, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those hearts and minds open.
It's amazing how one little story can make you think about such bigger things.
Yeah, it really is.
It shows how powerful stories are for helping us connect with other people's experiences, even if they're totally different from our own.
It reminds us that behind every news story you know about immigration, there are real people dealing with all this stuff,
Yeah.
each with their own story.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard.
And sometimes all it takes is, just a little bit of kindness.
Right.
Like being welcoming or understanding to make a huge difference for someone trying to find their place in a new country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about those nursing trainees arriving in Germany.
Yeah.
Imagine how much a friendly face or a helping hand at the grocery store,
Yeah.
or even just someone listening to their story could have helped them
It reminds us that making the world a more welcoming place starts with each of us.
in our everyday lives. So as you go about your day-to-day, think about how you can make someone in your community feel welcome.
It could be as simple as starting a conversation with a new neighbor or offering to help someone who's lost.
Yeah.
Or just being there to listen.
Even small things like that can make a big difference.
Totally. They can create a sense of belonging and connection
Exactly.
that can change everything for someone.
And you might even find that your own life is better because of it.
I think so too. So that wraps up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us as we explored hope, new beginnings, and the power of human connection.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep your hearts open.